Hello, everybody. Zaxter99. Guys, I did a live stream this morning where I started showing you guys a game that I played and reviewed yesterday, a game called Mighty Math on Steam. A game that was pretty fun where you take a grid and you go around collecting different number values and always try to keep the value of yourself between 0 and 9 without going under or over. And you try to survive as long as you can. Now, I did like this game. I gave it a positive review. However, I just felt like the price was too high, especially considering the simplicity of the game and how I could make a game like this and what I felt like was 2 to 3 hours of time. So in this first part, we're going to use GameMaker. The original GameMaker is what I use. And you can use the same exact code in GameMaker 2, and the same basic principles would apply no matter if you're using Unity or Godot or even the Unreal Engine. So hopefully this will help somebody, or you might enjoy watching me try to recreate this particular game in GameMaker. And after we're done, we'll be uploading this complete game with sounds and everything for free, either to GameJolt or itch.io. So enjoy! And we'll be back to go ahead and start part one right after this. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. In this live stream, we're going to be creating a game, guys. I think I can probably create this game in under 2 hours, but we'll see how it goes. This is a game that I'm going to be making based on a game I played and reviewed yesterday that came over the weekend on Steam. Fun little game, I guess. I guess it's all right. But I wanted to see if I could make my own version and maybe add some different elements to it and probably provide this game for free. Really, I'm just doing it to test myself to see if I can make this game only better. Myself, and this is a game that I thought was overpriced at $4 that just came out yesterday, and it is on Steam, called Mighty Math, and it's a game where you move this block around trying to collect numbers that don't overflow you or that don't put you in the hole. So you have to keep your value between 0 and 9 and move around and just collect these moving numbers, and always keep your, you got to get so many numbers, and you got to, it'll show you how many numbers are remaining in the level, and you got to collect at least that amount and keep your value between 0 and 9. So we're going to see if we can't recreate this game right now. So let's go ahead and check it out here. And we're going to go ahead and start in GameMaker, which is what I've used to make my current 10 games on Steam right now. We're going to go ahead and call this, I'm going to call this playing with numbers. You know, like you might hear a car salesman or whatever tell you, hey, I'm going to go play with the numbers and see what I can do. Or you might tell somebody, you might hear somebody say, I'm going to play with the numbers and see if I can get the cost down for a project you might be looking to pay for, or something like that. So I think that's a good name for the game. And we're going to go ahead and start off, guys, with a room. So we're going to go ahead and create a room in GameMaker. And for this room, we're going to make it, my standard size for all my rooms in GameMaker is 16 by 900. We'll go with 60. We just want a blank room. And we're going to go ahead and draw the background color here. And usually I go with black, but I think we're going to go with, let's define a dark purple or something. Maybe even darker than that. Way down here. There we go. That looks pretty good. So we'll come in here, we can zoom in and out of our room, what our screen's going to look like, and that looks good to me. So we're going to go ahead, we got our room. We're going to rename this room. We're going to call it RM Game. And anytime you create a sprite or an object or whatever, you always want to start off with what kind of thing it is. So like, you wouldn't just want to call this game, because you might have an object called game. So for example, right now we're going to go ahead and create an object And we can either do it here, or we can just come right up here to this ball and create an object. So like, for example, I want my object game, object, obj, game, but we're just going to call this controller. We're not going to have a sprite associated with this, because this is going to just control the mechanics of our game. And then we are going to need a sprite connected to our player. So for our sprite, let's go ahead and create a sprite. Call this sprite player. And we will want to make a sprite that our sprite looks like. And for this one, I'm thinking, how big would 96 by 96 be? That's probably about the right size, because we want to be able to see what our numbers are. So for our sprite, we're probably just going to go ahead and come in here. We're going to make it, let's make it light green. And we're either going to make a box like they kind of like they had. Yeah, let's do a box like this. We want to probably make it about the same size on every side. We're just starting, guys, and see what it looks like. And then we're probably going to go, I'm wondering what it would look like if we did a thicker. Yeah, let's do the thicker one for the outside border. And then we'll use that thinner line for the interior lines. Okay, and then come in here. In here, we want to divide this in about 3. Yeah, we want to go 0 to 9, I think, again. Just like they did. And for that, probably the best way to do this is going to be tic-tac-toe. So if we come up here, guys, and we look at the very second line, the very second line here is line 4, it looks like. Yeah, because see, I can draw there. So we're going to go the smaller line here. So that is definitely, yeah, line 4. We're going to reverse that. And then this one down here is line 90. So 90 minus 4 is 86. So let's do the math here with a calculator. Hey, Addie, how you doing, hon? 86. Can we divide that by 3? Divided by 3 equals 28.6667. But remember, we're going to have 2 lines going this way. So can we divide 84 by 3? We can. So that works out to 28. So if we divide this, 4 plus 28 is 32. So if we come down here to line 32, and then we go one more for where our line's at, I think we're going to be close. We just want this to look even, is all we're really doing. Okay. So 34, and then we would, for this, we would go 28 more is 54.62. So I think we're either going to go 62 or 63. That looks a little bit off. Just looking at it like that. Let me reduce the size. But you know what? That's close enough for us. We're going to go ahead. I think we might want to take this one and go just up one. That looks a little better. To me, it looks a little better. So we're going to go with that. And then for this one, we're probably going to do the same thing. This is 6 plus 28 is 34. Is right here. We're going to try that. We're not going to go so far down this one, on this one. And then 34 plus 28 is going to be 62. See if this looks right here. It looks about right. You could even make this like a tic-tac-toe type game. So, this would be what we have if we have a 0. But before we do anything, guys, before we come in and put some zeros and stuff like that in here, let's go ahead and center our player. And then let's create an object for our player. So obj underscore player. We know we're going to tie this sprite to our player. And in the add event, and there in the create event here, guys, we're going to come in here. We're going to use all code for this game. And we're going to come into the create event. And the first thing we're going to want to do, because I know I'm going to have multiple images for this sprite, we're going to come in here and we're just going to make this image speed equals 0. And I'm going to quickly explain what this code is doing as I do it. But let's go ahead and make the font a little bit bigger here, the code a little bit bigger, so maybe you can see it. So image speed is 0 because we're going to end up having like 10 different images here. One for 0, and then one for an image for 1 through 9, however much your value is that you have right now. So, but let's go ahead and get our player in the game right now and get it moving around. So let's go ahead and start our player. And we know that we have a 16 by 900 room, so X is going to be 1800 or 800. Let's go ahead and start this at like 5 and 5, which is probably going to be our movement speed, to be honest. And then we're going to start right in the middle. And we now have our player right in the middle. So let's go ahead and see if we can get the player moving before we do anything. So for the player, we want to check for this player movement every step. So we're going to go ahead and put in a step. And here, we want to go ahead and say, in the player event, we're going to go ahead and say a movement speed. And for right now, we're going to go ahead and try 5. We might need to adjust this. But here, we're going to go ahead and check for our movement keys. So we're going to say if keyboard check pressed. Let's just go keyboard check right now. So press would mean if you're actually holding down the key. Check is going to be a lot quicker check, and we could probably use this one. So for a like WASD key, we have to use the ORD. We have to use the open parentheses, and then we have to use like W, what key it is within. What do you call that? Not a quote, but a apostrophe. An apostrophe. All right, so like that. If keyboard check W, then we're going to say and X greater than speed. We want to check and make sure that we're not trying to go off the screen. Then we're going to go ahead and come in here and we're going to say X minus equal our speed. And for that, so now we've got our X checked, we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste this 4 times for our 4 movements. Bam. Bam. And bam. And go ahead and open this window up a little bit, so we can see what we got. So this is going to be, and this isn't going to be, this is actually going to be A for moving left. This is going to be D, and we're going to move X and X less than. Here we don't want to check for less than speed. We want to check for the room width. And if it is, we're going to move. We're going to add our speed to X. And then we're going to check, at this point, we're going to check for W. And this is going to be Y. And here, we're probably going to go ahead and say, something like 70. Because we don't want to go all the way to the top, because we want to have some UI at the top. So that's Y, and then S is moving down. And here, we're just going to go ahead and say, and Y less than room height. And if so, then we're going to go ahead and move down. So let's go ahead and add some options to use your arrow keys should you want to. And for the arrows, it's just going to be VK left. And we want to check for that position of your X as well. And we're going to go ahead and Control C. Bam. This here, though, is going to be this right here. We're just going to go ahead and take this from width, Control C. Erase that. Bam. And this is going to be VK right. Here, this is going to say and keyboard check VK up. And this is going to be or keyboard check, oops, the VK down, so the down arrow button. Now we're going to open this up a little bit because I do have my font pretty big so you guys can see that. And here we just want to check for the same thing on the Y. Oops. Control C, Control V. All right. So here in these four if statements, guys, we're just checking to see if the player is using the A button here and make sure our X is greater than our speed so we don't go off the screen. And the same thing here. It says or, and our keyboard check is either VK left and making sure the same thing. Our X is not less than whatever our speed is. If so, then we move left. And then keyboard check D for WASD, or you check for the right arrow key being pressed, and you want to check for the same conditions in both situations of the keys. And we do that for up, down, left, and right. So let's go ahead and see what we got here, guys. Let's go ahead and play the game and make sure we can move, and make sure we can't move off the screen, that kind of thing. So there we go. There's our movement. Let's make sure we can't move off the screen. And there's my 70. There's my height to 70 right there. Okay, so we got a problem here because we can actually move our character off the screen. And actually, we're able to move. Hang on, I was moving down and my character was moving. Yeah, we forgot to say. So when you move down, we were still subtracting one. We were still subtracting the speed from the Y. This actually needs to be add, right? There we go. So now if we move down, we actually move down rather than moving up. That's good. So the reason we can go kind of off the screen a little bit is because we forgot to take in the size of our player. So we probably want our player to stop once our right edge hits the right edge of the screen. So this is going to be really simple, guys. We're simply going to come in here, and we're going to say an X greater than speed. So here we want to go ahead and say plus sprite width, the width of our sprite, and since we are centered, we want to divide that by 2. Right? So we just want to take that sprite width and divide it by 2. And since this is the object of the player itself, we want to make sure this applies to self, and we just want to go ahead and say plus that sprite width divided by 2. And then for this, we're going to go ahead and move over, and we're going to make sure we do that for the right arrow being pressed as well. Go. Now for the right side, we do the same thing. We want to come in here and we want to say the sprite width divided by 2, but we want to go ahead and subtract that. And then same thing here. We want to go ahead and go minus. And oops, we don't want to go minus plus. That would actually result in an error. Y plus 70, we're going to go ahead and come in here and we're going to say plus the sprite width. And right here, plus the sprite width, because we don't want to go, we want to add the sprite width because we're decreasing speed on this check. And then here, this is going to be the minus speed again. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to minus that. Come to the end of our line, V, and we're going to make change this to a minus because it's checking for the bottom collision. So we want to subtract the sprite width. So let's see if that has fixed our problem. Yeah, and I'm trying to explain exactly what I'm doing. So you're moving pretty slow here. And as you can see, now we're actually stopping at what looks like the y minus 70. So we do have proper time to give us a score and stuff like that up here. And we should stop right on the edge right here. So yeah, see how that's like perfectly aligned right to the right edge? And perfectly aligned right to the bottom of the screen. So we can't actually go off the screen. And so that is how that works, guys. If you guys want to look at the code there, this code's pretty basic. This code's going to apply to Unity or Unreal or whatever. It's going to be very similar in nature. So, and if you want to make this look a little bit neater, you might want to take the parentheses and add some parentheses right here, just so you can say x greater than this whole calculation right here, right? So again, it would be this whole calculation within these. Some people might think this makes it look more complex. I would say this makes it look neater. To me, this is neater here, but some people may think it looks more complicated with the additional parentheses. But what you're doing here by adding the parentheses, you're basically saying x is greater than, you want it to figure out this whole thing. You want to have it figure out this whole thing before it compares x to that number, right? Same thing here. You want x to be less than this whole calculation. And that's why I'm putting everything, see right here, the whole calculation is not in parentheses. It's kind of open. So you don't want the computer or the person reading the code to think, hey, is x greater than speed by itself? And then, yeah, it's a little more confusing. You want the person reading the code or the computer to be comparing the whole thing. The whole number, whatever this room width minus sprite width divided by 2 is. And so that's why I'm putting parentheses around the whole thing. It really wouldn't matter in this situation because the computer is going to be calculating the whole thing anyway. This is just to make it neater to read and easier to read. Okay. So now, if we want to make the player move quicker, this is why I decided to make this number here, this number a variable, how fast you move. Because now instead of having to go in and, like, let's say I had put in the number 5 in all these situations. Well, then I'd have to come in here and change speed to 5. So by doing it the way I did it, I can actually go into the create event and I can just change speed. And we'll see if 10 works better. And if 10 was too fast or whatever, I only have to change this in one position. This is why you want to set up variables in whatever game or application you're making. Makes it a lot easier to change things like that. As we see here, that is a lot faster. And that's probably going to be closer to what we want. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get our player properly set up so that it can actually be a number between 0 and 9. Right now, our player can only be 0 because we don't have any numbers here. So I'm trying to decide, Addie is watching me from work. Addie, do you think I should put like green dots in here? I think the other game, I think it used X's. But I'm thinking about just using green dots to show what value we're at. Anyway, let's come in here. And to do this, we're simply going to make our different possible values for our player. We're simply going to come in here, and we're going to copy this. So for the first number, we're going to zoom in here, and I'm thinking we're just going to use like a ball. We'll see what this looks like. So for the ball, we're going to try to center this like this, and we want to center that right in the middle. Okay, that looks good. And then let's go ahead and put this in the first one. So we want Control-C, Control-V. So for example, this would be what our player would look like if it was a value of 2 right here, right? So we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and lock that in right there. And then let's go ahead and Control-C, Control-V. And let's come back into this one. Hopefully, I think I got those lined up to the right spot. Let's copy that again. And let's just move this over here. So what I want to do is I want to make sure my dots just aren't moving, like, at all. So, yeah, so you see right here, if I go to 2, my dot here moves to the left. Oops, there's 0. Yeah, so if I go to a value of 2, this one right here moves to the left. So we don't want that, so we actually just want to bring that over to the right one. Like that. Now let's make sure our balls aren't moving. It's just adding one. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and Control C, Control V. So now we have 1, 2. We have a value 0, 1, 2. And now we just need to make the third one. Control V. Oops. Silly man. Oops. What am I doing? The good thing we have the undo button, guys. I'm just saying. All I want to do is copy this again. Control C, Control V. Move this over here like this and try to center it. Looks like that's about where we want it. Like that. And now the cool thing is here, guys, we can go ahead and go Control C, V. Let's go ahead and do the next 3 here, and I'll show you how easy this should be. So for a value number of 4, all we're going to do is we're going to copy this. Now I could actually just copy the dot here, but I think what I'm going to try to do is copy the whole line. Maybe not. Let's just do all 9 of our things. So now we have 10 different values here, 0 through 9, which is exactly what we want. We just got to make sure that the dots line up. So we need to come back here to 4. Yeah, I think it's going to be just as easy to Control C, Control V. Move this down here. And I think it was down a little bit. Okay. So we're going to move to our 5th frame here. And we will Control C, Control V. Try to do this a little bit quicker here. C, V. The one in the middle is pretty easy because, oops, we don't want it. This is only 5, so wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So then we'll do this one. Control V. Control V. So we want this one to be a value of 6. Control V. Move over to 7. The only thing I'm going quickly here, the only thing I'm hoping for is that I'm placing these in the right exact spot so that we don't have these dots moving from frame to frame. It wouldn't be a catastrophe if we did have that, but yeah. Let's just move this one here. B. B. We just want to make it look good and show the appropriate value for however much value your player is at the time. This is where it can be time consuming though. And then we just need to do the 10th one. And for the 10th one, guys, I'm just going to delete this one, and I'm going to copy and paste this one, just because I think it'll be a little quicker than placing 6 new dots. TV. So as you can see, now our speed, let's move that up to 5. You'll see that our player is like if we was to animate this, it would move from 0 to 9, right? So now we're going to come in here, and we simply, if we run the game now, we should still have it empty because we haven't done anything to increase our value. So our value is still 0, right? And we'll be able to see our value by how many dots are on that, because we want this to be a value of 0 to 9, right? So now what we want to do is we simply want to make, this wouldn't be the enemy, so we're just going to call this next object that we're going to create, we're going to call this numbers. And for the numbers here, guys, these are probably going to be a little bit smaller. So this one was the player was a 96 by 96. I'm thinking our numbers will be like a value of like maybe 64 by 64. A little bit smaller, but definitely, because we're just going to put in the numbers, right? And so we're going to have to come up with and figure out a font size that we want. And I may just use the same font as I'm using in maybe a bold here in this one. So let's go ahead, if we go 48, and we make this I think we might go blue and red, for like blue being a positive number and red meaning a negative number. So here, like, we might just go a 1, but we want to figure out how to make this so we can just like that, but maybe we want it to go down some. Trying to figure out a quick way to add these numbers so we have them centered in the same spot every time. Let's come here and go down 3, 4, 5. Yeah. But let's go ahead and erase that, and let's go ahead and just say 48, and we'll come in here and we'll go plus 1. See what that looks like. So that's a little bit too big. So let's go ahead and go 36 instead of 48 and see what that looks like. Plus 1. Okay, so it's a little bit easier to center this as well by going plus 1. The problem is I don't like how big the plus is here. I think the number should be a lot bigger than the plus, so I'm going to be really picky here, guys. And I'm actually going to come in here, and I'm going to go to like a value of 20, and I'm going to put plus. Okay, like that. And I'm going to try to center this plus, if not make it a little higher. Probably centered. Probably like that. That looks pretty centered. And then we'll center our number like to the right of that. But since I know I'm going to have a plus on all of these, I'm going to go ahead and copy this 9 times, because we're going to have a value of plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, etc. So we're going to go ahead and hit controls. We're going to go ahead and edit the sprite. Control C, Control V. So we're only going to have 8 numbers because we're never going to have a plus 0. So it's going to be 1 through 9, which is actually 8 numbers because you start with 0. And 0 through 8 is actually 9 numbers. So now we're going to come in here, and we're probably going to use that same 36 number. Nope, we're going to use a little bit bigger number, maybe 48. Maybe that's too big. Well, let's go somewhere in between. Let's go 42. There we go. That looks better. And with 42, it's a little bit easier because we can just put our bottom number on the bottom line like that, and that looks pretty good. So we're going to go, yeah, we're going to go like that. And then we're going to come in here, and we're simply going to make a 2. And we're going to try to get this in the same spot so these all look the same. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. So that looks pretty good. So now what we need, guys, is we want our numbers to also be possible to be a negative, right? So what we're going to do here, guys, we're simply going to come in here. We're going to go Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V, 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 C, V, C, V. So now we would just want to come in here and we want to make all these the second number, right? It's like the second 2, the second 3, the second 4, etc. We want to make those a negative value. So we're also going to make these a red number as well. But before we do that, let's go ahead and change this to a negative. So for that, I think it might be easier just to delete the top part, like that. And then we'll change the shade. So here we want to go to 4, and delete all this, and delete all this. Not the third, we want to go to the second 3. Oops, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah, plus, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, I did something wrong here. So, okay. So let's go ahead and do this. Yeah, I got a -4 in the wrong position, so I can simply, GameMaker allows you to just change these positions really easy like that. So let's go to the second 5 here. Yep, getting ahead of myself. I'm getting in too big of a hurry. Which a lot of times, stuff like this will cost you more time. So move ahead 2. Move ahead 2. Two. And one more to delete the top and bottom. All right, now if you look at all our numbers, guys, we have 2 blue ones. We have 2 of each number, a plus and a minus, but the problem is that they're all blue. And we want the negative numbers to be red. So we're going to go ahead and come in here to our first number that should be red. And GameMaker allows you to quickly colorize a number. And we're going to come in here and we're going to go to like a red number. We're going to go a little bit between red and orange here. Like that. And then again, we're just going to move ahead 2. And we're going to colorize that again. We've already had the same number set. So it'll be exactly the same shade over time, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead 2. Now one more to change the color on. And there we go. So now you can see we have numbers that are going to be anywhere from plus or minus 1 all the way to plus or minus 9, which is exactly what we want for our numbers. We want to center these, right? And then we want to go ahead and create an object for these numbers, because you can't put just sprites on the screen. Everything has to be an object. So we're going to call this, instead of sprite numbers, we're going to make this object numbers. And we're going to tie it here to the sprite numbers that we have. And in the sprite, we're going to create, in the create event, when we first create this numbers, we want this to be a... Well, first of all, we want to set the image speed so it's a 0, so it's not flickering through the numbers, right? And then we want to come in here, and we want to go ahead and set this to a random value. So we want to say image index, which is what image it's going to be showing us. And we have a random number here between, we have a total of 9 different numbers, plus 1 through 9, times 2 is 18. So we want an image index of 0 to 17. So we're basically just going to say irandom 17, which is going to give us a whole number. I is going to give us a whole number. It's going to round those random numbers to the nearest whole number. And we want that to be a number between 0 and 17. And then once we have that image index, we want to go ahead and set the value of this object to whatever number it is. So for this, we're going to go ahead and use a switch statement, and we're going to say switch based on the image index. We're going to say value. Well, no, first we're going to say case 0, and then we're going to break that. And in case 0, the value is going to be value equals 1. And then we're simply just going to copy and paste this the 18 times. So 17 more times. V, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Some people are probably wondering, isn't there probably a quicker way to do this? There probably is. There probably is a lot quicker way I can do this with a formula where I can figure out what these numbers are. But I'm just doing this for simplicity and to make it a little bit easier instead of trying to figure out a formula. So there's way more than one way to skin a cat, guys. So we know that with case 1, if the image index is 1 instead of 0, if we pull up our sprite numbers again, we know that image 1 is going to be the negative. And then image 2 is going to be, we add a whole number, and then the next image is going to be the negative. So we're going to do that same thing here in our code. So case 1, if the image index is 1, we want this value to be a negative 1. So if the image index is 2, this value is going to be 2. If the case is 3, this is going to be a negative 2, and so on. Hopefully this makes sense to somebody. All right, welcome to the stream, by the way, guys. I'm live streaming this on Twitch right now. 4, 7 is going to be a negative 4. To check that, let's go ahead and check, make sure we're on the right path here. 7 is minus 4. Let's check this against our sprite. 7 is minus 4, so we know we're on the right track here. 8 would be 5. Image index being 9 would be a negative 5. 10 would be 6. 11 would be negative 6. And we just keep going until we get to 9. 12 is going to be 7. 13 is going to be negative 7. 14 is going to be 8. 15 is going to be negative 8. 16 is going to be a value of 9. Oops. Hope I hit the right number. And if we have an index is 17 for this, it's going to be a negative 9. So now, in the step event, the number already knows exactly what its value is. It's setting the image index to a random number to one of these images here. And then we're figuring out what the value is in that create event for the number. Right? So now, all we have to do is when we have a collision with our player and a number, we're going to add or subtract. We're simply going to add the value of the number. And we're going to check in the player and see if this value has caused us to go either below 0 or above 0, right? So let's go ahead and get this correct here, guys. And let's say that we're going to move our number around. So in our controller here, this is where we're going to set an alarm here. And this is where we're going to cause numbers to go across the screen. So we're going to say in an alarm probably every half a second, we're going to say if instance number object numbers, we're going to say if it's less than, how many numbers could we have on the screen at once? So let's say 6 to start with. Instance create. We're going to go ahead and just say minus 500, comma minus 500, so it's off the screen. Object number. And this will get some numbers started created. And then here, we're just going to, we want to come back in here and we want to say alarm, call this alarm 0, equals 30, which is basically half a second. Because there's 60 clicks in a second. So we're in the create event of our controller. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this alarm 0 up. Alarm 0 equal 30. Move that down. And this should actually start creating some numbers on the screen. The only thing is now it's putting them off the screen at a negative 500 and a negative. So this is our game. It's putting the numbers way up here to start with. It's just creating them. And we're going to create where these things spawn right here on this, on the create event of the actual number itself. So we're going to go ahead and say x equals a random number. Oops. Random range. And for this, we're going to say negative 200, comma negative 100, because we still want it to be off the screen. And then we're going to say if a random number between 1 and 100 is greater than 50, so it's basically a coin flip, then x equals random range off the screen on the right, which would be 1600 plus 100 is 1700, comma 1800. So basically we're either going from a negative 100 to negative 200 on the left side of the screen, or basically 100 off the right side of the screen, we're either going 1 to 200 off the right side because our screen width is 1600. So we're putting this number either on the left or right hand side. And here we're simply going to say if x less than 0, then direction, we need to set the direction. If the x number is off here, we're going to set the direction to moving right, which is in GameMaker is a direction of 0. And we're going to say if x greater than 1600, which means our random number has provided us a number off the right hand side of the screen, then we want our direction to be 180 degrees opposite. So our direction is going to be 180. Right? And then we're going to go ahead and set in a speed for these things. And let's start it with a speed of 7, just to see what that looks like. And let's see if it works. First thing we have to do, though, is we have to put our object game controller in our game, or it's not going to do anything. So there we go. We'll just put it up here. Remember, you can't see this because it doesn't have a sprite attached to it. Here, no sprite. Let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. Yeah, we should have some numbers coming from the left and the right. May take a minute. Okay, so there's no numbers being created. We got to figure out why. What did I do wrong? Okay. On the creative end of our game controller, we're saying alarm 0 equal 30. We have alarm 0. Every half a second, the alarm should be going off. And it's saying if instance number, object number less than 6, so we create a number at negative 500, comma, negative 500. Okay. And then the number itself, x equals random range, x equals random range 17, 1800, x less than 0, then direction equal 100. Oh, if x greater than 1600, not say 160, direction equal 180. Oh, we never, yeah, we did set a speed. We set a speed right there. Oh, guys, of course I have it. I figured this out. Is it best to have them all the same speed, or yeah, we can make the speed a random number. I just figured out what's wrong, guys. So we spawned our numbers. Remember, we had our controller spawning in our numbers, right? At a negative 500 Y. So we got the Y's, we got the X all figured out, whether it's on the left or right side of the screen, and we got it moving the right direction. However, we never set a Y. So all these numbers are way above the screen, and they're moving left and right. We just can't see them because they're way higher than the screen than we can see. They're all at negative 500. So obviously we need to set the Y as well. So for the Y, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Y is going to equal a random range. And for this one, we're just going to set it anywhere from 100 to 800. Now we're going to see something. Silly me. Yeah, we had all the numbers at negative 500. Sometimes you have brain parts like that, guys. Now we're seeing, so the even 7's a little bit fast, as you see, but we're going to be able to collect these numbers. And so that'll be the next thing. Let's go ahead and, that speed is a little bit fast. Let's go ahead and have that, like Addy just said, have the speed be a random range for each number. But 7 is really fast. So I'm thinking maybe 1.5, comma 4. Well, let's see what that looks like. And then the next step is simply going to be to try to add the numbers to our player. So now they're all moving at a different speed. And we're going to make this so that you don't want to collide with one. Like, for example, we're at 0 right now. If we collided with a negative 6, it would blow us up, right? So we want to make sure that we don't get blown up. But our controller now is creating random numbers at random locations, up and down, on the left or right side of the screen. If they're on the right side, they move left. If they're spawned on the left side, they move right. And so we have all these numbers that we can go and collect. How do you like the looks of this so far, Eddie? That is neat. Yeah, I think it even looks a little bit neater than the game I was playing last night. All right. So we have a lot of positive numbers. And I don't think the game last night was, I think it was just all black and white. It didn't have, like, you know, blues for the positive numbers or red for the negative numbers, etc. like that. So, right. So after we figure out this and we get the numbers appearing on the screen, but I think the first thing we want to do, guys, is we want to go ahead and make it so the player can die, right? So we want to go ahead and create an animation. So for example, if we eat a negative 2 when we're below the 0 or whatever. But for right now, we're probably going to make the player explode. I think we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So let's come into our player here, guys. And I think the player needs to be a little bit smaller. And the cool thing is we can actually do that with code. So we can simply set a variable here, size equal random range. And this is a number between, for the image X scale and image Y scale, it's a number between 0 and 1. So 1 would be exactly what it is right now, the value. And if you wanted to make it bigger than what we've drawn it at, you would go above 1. So for example, number for 2 on the image X scale and image Y scale would be twice as big. But we're going to go ahead and set the random range for a size variable between... Actually, we don't want this to be a random range. We don't want your size of your player to be a random range. We just want to go ahead and set it to, say, like 0.7. And then we're going to say image X scale equals size and image Y scale equals size. And again, the reason I did set this to a variable size is so I can just change it in one spot. If it's too small, I can just change it one time rather than both times. Let's see if that's better, or if we want to increase the size a little bit. So this is a little bit small. It's going to be a little bit hard to see what our dots are at, I think. So we probably, this is why now we just have to change it one time in the size, 0.8. I just thought it was a little bit big. It's still a little bit small. Let's go 0.85. Yeah, let's try that for now. Right now, we're not doing anything if we collide, but we're going to be doing that, and I want to have it set up so that you die if you ever get over 9 or below 0. So for that, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create another sprite, and we're going to call this sprite player piece. And this is going to be simply a piece of your player if you die. And for this, I'm just going to make this size of, say, 48 by 48. I want it to be plenty big. And we're going to put this right in the middle, right? And we're going to center that already. But for this, we're just going to go into the player. Yeah, let's just go into this one here. And all I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm just going to spray a copy of this. We're just going to get the, like, 4 corners here or something like that. And we're going to copy that. And I think if we come in here now, and we come in here, and I think we can paste the whole thing. Okay, so it's only getting that edge. That's not what I want. So what I have to do is I have to come in here to the player, come in here, and we want to spray this. This is kind of what I'm thinking. We're gonna, but you have to, let's make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, I have to get this whole area like this. And then I Control C to copy that. And then I come in here. Bam. And I'll put that like right in the center. And then we'll go get us a few more different images. Edit. We'll come in here again. We'll use the spray function again. And we're just going to get like this middle piece here. No, we're not really worried if your player had dots on it or not. We just want to make it look like the player is exploding. Oops. Let's get a little bit bigger spray area here, so I can do this a little bit quicker. Control C. Okay, cool. Edit. Gray area. We're going to get a chunk of this bottom corner here. Get a little bit different shape. Control C. Come into our pieces. For this one, we're just going to get like a weird shape piece like that. Oh, I don't think I copied that. This is the same as the last one. I don't think I copied that last segment that I didn't hit the control CT or something. Control C. And I think that's really all we need, guys. We have 4 different pieces right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an object for this piece. Object player piece. Here we're going to put in our sprite for our player pieces. In the create event of this, we simply want to come in here and we want to get ahead and say image speed equals 0. We want to just picking one of those, and we're going to say image index equal random. We can always add more if we need them. Random 3, because there's 4 images, so we want to pick a number between 0 and 3. And then we're simply going to say direction equal random. There's 360 degrees in a circle. We're going to go 359.9 for the random direction. Speed is going to be a random range as well. And for this one, we're probably going to go like 7 to 9 or something like that. And then we're going to set a spin equal random range. Oops. We're going to say negative 0.6 comma negative 0.8. And we're going to say if random 100, a coin flip again, greater than 50, then spin equals ABS spin. So for the spin, guys, it's a variable. We're making our own variable here, and we're setting this to a random number between, basically, this would actually need to be -8. You want to go smallest to highest. So it's picking a random number between -0.8 and -0.6, which is kind of close to our speed. And then once we have a negative spin, we're going to say if a coin flip here, basically, if a random number between 1 and 100 is over 50, then we're going to make the spin be the positive value of that. So ABS just means take whatever number this is and spin and change it to a positive. So if it's -0.7, for example, it would now be a positive 0.7, right? So we've got that set up in the create event of a player piece, and now we just simply need a step event. So with that code that we created, we already have a direction set, a random number between 0 and 350, which is going to give it like that. And then we're simply going to say here, image angle equals plus equals our spin value. And then we just want to make sure if it goes off the screen, we want to destroy it. If x less than -50, or x greater than 1650, which means it's well off the screen, so it's not going to disappear. We don't want to have it disappear at 0, because right when it gets to the edge of the screen, we see it disappear before it was fully off the edge of the screen. Or y less than -50, or y greater than 950, then instance destroy. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to have our player, our object player, if it collides with a number, we want to add the value to it. And if the value makes it go above the... So in the create player edition, we're going to have our value set to 0. And we probably want to make this a global variable as well, but we can use value for right now. In fact, let's go ahead and set this up as a global in our create event for our controller. Global value equals 0. So now that we no longer need this, so now if we have a collision with a number in the, oops, not in the player piece. Yeah, we don't want to delete, we want this to be in our player, not in our player piece. There we go. If we have a collision with a number, we're going to do some code here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and have the number. If we have a collision with the player, what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to go ahead and set alarm 0 equal 5. We're going to try that right now. So we want to make sure that the number disappears, but we don't want it to appear immediately. I don't think we want it disappearing immediately. Alarm 0. Just a split second later, we want it to destroy itself. But we do want to go ahead and set a variable here, the number, and say, we want to set a variable here, the number, saying player took. Means player took it. And we're going to start this at false. So player took equal false. And if we get touched, we want to set this to true. Player took equal true. That way we're not adding the same number over and over again. All right. So if our player collides with the number, we're going to say if other player we just took equal false. Means we haven't added this number yet. We're going to say player, our global player value, global dot, it's not player value, it's value, plus equal the other value, the value we've set up and the number for the value. And that's assigned in the number object, so that's why we have to use other. Plus equal player value. And right here, we're going to say if global value now is less than 0 or global value is greater than 9, then this is where we're going to have the player die inside these brackets. Otherwise, we're simply going to say image index equals our global value. Right? How long have we been going this? About an hour right now. So here we're going to get in our controller, we're going to basically say global game over equal false. And here, if we end up going below 0 or above 0, we're going to basically say pieces, set up another variable, equal I random, range, anywhere from, we'll say 6 to 8 pieces. 4. For that for loop, I always forget exactly what that looks like here. I always have to go search this for the example. I can't ever remember this. Yeah, it's like this. Copy that. I equal 0, I less than pieces, and I plus equal 1, right? And then here we're just simply going to say, instance create x comma y comma object player piece. What it's going to do is make our player explode. And then we're simply going to say global game over equal true. And we're going to come back in here to our player alarm, and we're going to make this so that if and global game over is false. We only want to create new numbers if our game is still playing, right? So let's take a look and see if it's even halfway working right now, guys. Now we got compile failed. We don't have no additional information, but we got a problem here somewhere. And the game won't even run because we have this semicolon right here. I'm pretty sure that's all it was. Yeah, you can't have a semicolon like right after an if statement, for example, or after a for line. Kind of crazy that the GameMaker won't even tell you where it's at. Okay. We have a value of 0 here. I don't want to get that -5 or it'll explode. Let's make sure that works. Ooh. Okay. So that we exploded, but we're continuing to go here. Okay. Oh yeah, we want to destroy this piece. We want to destroy. Want to make sure you're dead. Instance destroy. Make sure you're not still there. If you die. So we have a value of 0 right now. Let's go ahead and get the -4. We should die. Yep. And the game's over because our player is gone. And we'll have to restart. So we haven't set up like a restart game function yet. So let's go ahead and get the 6. Make sure we have 6. There we go. Okay, so we probably want that number instantly disappearing once we collect it. So let's go ahead and do that because that looks bad. Yeah, that was silly on me. We just want to go ahead and have this instantly destroy. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and set that to true. We're just going to go ahead and set our image alpha to 0. That way it disappears. We don't see it. That'd be the easiest way to handle this. +9. Obviously, we want sound effects. -6. There we go. +6 should give us 9 again. We don't want to get. We want to get a red number here. -5 is 4. And then like -3 is 1. +4 is 5. So we can get like the -5 now. Wink. Or it's 0. Get a 9. Get like this -7. Get like this +5. -5. So that functionality is working, guys. So now we just need sound effects. And we need... So I can't get any of those numbers. So now all we need to do is make sure that only so many numbers pass us. And we collect so many numbers. And I think with that other game, it was simply having only so many numbers come. And so we only had so many chances to, you know... Like, for example, we have 3 numbers that we have to collect to end this level. And we move up to the next level. And on the next level, we might have 4 numbers we need to collect. But then the game would only give us, so for example, the game would only give us like 5 numbers, and we have to collect 3 or something like that. And then if we don't collect 3 numbers, by the time all the numbers are gone, the game's over. Or if we go below 0 or above 9 on our value, then we die as well. And you just play until you die. So that's pretty much it. So as we can see, guys, except for some simple sound effects, which we'll do later, and putting in that logic of how many numbers it's going to give us and how many we have to collect. We haven't done that logic, but we got the basic functionality. We just need to make a game over screen so that we can restart the game. And then we simply need to add some special sound effects and stuff like that. Guys, I'm an hour and 15 minutes in, but I got the base mechanics for the game completely done. Like I said in my review video of that game, this is a game that's only going to take me 2 to 3 hours. I said I could make this game in like 2 to 3 hours. And just over an hour in, even with me explaining pretty much everything that I'm doing, yeah, we got all the base mechanics for the game done in just over an hour. All right, guys, we'll come back and finish this game up. I'm not going to do anything on my own. I'll stream everything that I do in this game. But we're an hour and 15 minutes into this, guys, and we're going to finish this later in the next couple of days. And then once we get it absolutely all complete, probably another hour or so is probably all it's going to take. Like I said, about 2 to 3 hours. And if we really polish it up, it might take a full 3 hours. But we're going to have a complete game that's being sold on Steam for $4 right now, made in less than 3 hours. And once we get it all done, guys, I will upload this probably to either itch.io or GameJolt and allow you guys to download this and play this for free. So that is that, guys. We were to go ahead and stop the stream right now, and I'll probably upload this video onto YouTube as well. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon with part 2 when we finish up this playing with the numbers game. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.